I always wanted to know more about my family history for a better sense of myself. Nobody in my family had ever delved into our history. Everything was exclusively oral tradition. I was born in California, but all of my family's from the East Coast. It's always just been me and my parents, so I didn't get that much history growing up. I wanted to get down to the root of my origins.
From a young age, it was impressed on me that family was important, and it was important to know who your family members were. My father was a researcher and a historian, and he loved trying to find out who people were and where they came from. I was dragged to a lot of family reunions. There are books about family, monographs, lectures and talks and presentations about Lawtons and the Allied families.
Most of my immediate family, they only knew their grandparents, if that. So I didn't know my family history past my great-grandparents. I always wanted to know who are my ancestors, who are the people that made me me. I started looking through all my paper records, census records, but for a lot of African Americans, we simply do not have those records. We do not have paper trails because slaves were not included on census records before the mid-1800s. So I couldn't go any further. There was a lot of frustration. It felt like my history had vanished.
Lawtons were slaveholders up until the Civil War. They were a substantial family in the American South. A lot of them were Confederates. A lot of them fought in the Civil War.
Once my paper trail stopped, I realized that I'd been carrying around the records I'd been looking for my whole life, and that it's DNA. So I decided to do the 23andMe test.
A couple of years ago, a cousin I'd never heard of asked me if I would help someone else try to trace ancestors by doing a DNA test with 23andMe. I said, of course I'll help.
When I got my 23andMe results back, the first thing that surprised me was the amount of European ancestry that I have. So then I clicked over to my DNA relatives finder, and I got matched with a person who had the last name Lawton. I'd always been told we had a white man in our family with the last name of Lawson or Larson. So I started chatting with this new relative, and it turns out that they were from the same part of South Carolina that my family was from. I thought that this was about to fill this gap that I've had in my family tree for the past 14 years. So I decided to reach out, and I was so excited and nervous at the same time.
When I learned about Jordan, it put my family in a whole different light. It was sort of a world-shifting event.
So I think this place was the actual plantation.
I think that's right.
Captain William is buried somewhere in here.
Yeah, let's check.
So here we go.
So this is Captain William.
Oldest documented ancestor.
Married 3 times and died here between 9 October and 15 October 1757. History can be a burden. It can make life complicated. It can also bring all kinds of nuance and meaning to stuff.
Right.
As Faulkner said, the past didn't really pass. Well, this was one of the largest of the Lawton plantations, Black Swamp, 5,000 acres.
Really? Who owned it?
I think the grandfather of our common ancestor, and this is all that's left.
Wow.
The fact that a former Confederate cavalryman could have had children with a formerly enslaved woman, it's just mind-blowing. But there's this notion of truth and reconciliation, and there can't be any kind of reconciliation about the issues until there is an acknowledgement of the truth. The experience of meeting Jordan has forced a lot of people to deal with things that may be uncomfortable. But you know, facts are stubborn things, and we have to figure out how to face reality and how to deal with it. So these are the steps that are the only remainder.
It's absolutely amazing knowing that there was such a grand manor, and it's been reduced to almost nothing. The person who constructed this gave me my DNA. He's part of who I am. This really changed my life. It answered a question that I've been searching for 14 years. I felt very privileged to be able to do that. Being here, it's giving me a very strong sense of personal identity. This just goes to show you look absolutely nothing like me, yet we share the same genes, the same makeup, the same blood. It's been amazing getting to know you.
It's been amazing to get to know you too.
It's fascinating to me how 23andMe has sort of exploded this body of knowledge, uncovering connections that would never have been known about. And I think the world's a better place for that.